There are three unwritten rules for building a skyscraper in New York City. First, add value to the skyline. Don't ruin it. Second, don't be all style and no substance, especially when the city is struggling with a housing crisis. And third, whatever you do, don't do what 262 Fifth Avenue is doing. Because this new tower is breaking all three rules at once, and it's making a lot of New Yorkers very angry. New York's skyline is one of the most recognizable in the world. The Empire State Building, the Chrysler Building, the Woolworth Building. These towers have stood for decades as symbols of ambition, innovation, and identity. They were more than just structures. They were landmarks that helped people navigate the city, points of reference for residents and visitors alike. Over time, distinct districts formed, like the historic towers of Lower Manhattan, the vertical explosion of Midtown dominated by the Empire State, and the shimmering luxury spires of Billionaires Row. These areas created a delicate balance between the old and the new. But in recent years, that balance has started to shift. New towers are not only reshaping the skyline, they are blocking the very icons that made it famous. And nowhere is this more visible than at 262 Fifth Avenue. At the heart of this story is a clash between two very different skyscrapers. On one side stands the Empire State Building, completed in 1931 and still one of the most beloved landmarks in the city. It has defined New York's identity for generations. On the other side is 262 Fifth Avenue, a pencil-thin tower rising 262 meters into the sky. By New York standards, it's not the tallest, but its location matters more than its height. From some of the city's most iconic viewpoints, this new tower blocks the Empire State Building entirely. Unlike London or Paris, New York has no laws protecting historic sightlines, which means developers can build wherever they want, even if it permanently changes how millions of people see the city. The problem isn't just that 262 Fifth Avenue blocks a view. The real issue is its uninspiring design. The tower lacks character and doesn't add anything meaningful to the skyline. It takes light, space, and resources without giving much back. For many, it feels like a monument to wealth rather than a contribution to the city. It doesn't solve a housing problem, it doesn't offer public benefit, and it doesn't create excitement like the Chrysler Building or Woolworth Building once did. Instead, it embodies a modern trend where architecture serves money first, city second. Designed by Russian firm Meganom for their first U.S. project, 262 Fifth Avenue contains just 26 apartments across its entire height. Each unit averages 3,200 square feet, more than 4 times the size of a typical Manhattan apartment, which averages just 740 square feet. This is not a building meant for families struggling to find a home. It is aimed at the ultra-wealthy, often foreign investors who may spend only a few weeks a year in the city. It represents a wider trend where towers are built for investment rather than for community, turning prime real estate into private assets rather than living spaces for people who need them. The tower's design reflects its financial priorities. With a width-to-height ratio of 1:19, it is thinner than 432 Park Avenue, which already pushed engineering limits at a ratio of 1:15. For comparison, the Empire State Building's ratio is a sturdy 1:3. Engineering such a slender structure requires careful planning to manage wind. A gap 2/3 of the way up acts as a windbreak to reduce swaying, while an aluminum and triple glass curtain wall further stabilizes the tower. The building's core is shifted to one side, creating open-plan residences with maximum flexibility for buyers. Every design decision maximizes luxury, comfort, and marketability, rather than addressing practical needs or the urban environment. Perhaps the most striking aspect of 262 Fifth Avenue is that it may remain largely empty. Many units are likely to be purchased by investors and barely occupied. This phenomenon, sometimes called zombie urbanism, creates buildings full of assets but empty of people. Streets remain quiet, neighborhoods lack vitality, and communities lose the energy that comes from residents living, working, and interacting. In a city facing a severe housing shortage, this emptiness is especially troubling, turning what should be homes into hollow symbols of wealth. New York is in the middle of one of its worst housing crises in decades. More than half of renters earning under $70,000 a year spend over 50% of their income on rent. Experts estimate that the city builds only half the housing units it needs annually. Towers like 262 Fifth Avenue do nothing to solve the problem. In fact, they make it worse. A building with 100 mid-priced apartments might generate $70 million in revenue, but 262 Fifth Avenue, with its 26 ultra-luxury units, could easily bring in more than $400 million. This economic reality drives developers to build fewer, more expensive apartments instead of many units that meet real demand. The city gains towers, but not homes. 262 Fifth Avenue is part of a wave of ultra-thin luxury towers transforming Midtown Manhattan. What makes it different is how directly it clashes with New York's historic identity. It obscures the Empire State Building, one of the city's most treasured icons, and highlights a growing tension between the desire for architectural innovation and the realities of inequality. The tower is a symbol of a city increasingly defined by investment, not community. New York will always grow taller and change. That is part of its DNA. But the rise of buildings like 262 Fifth Avenue shows a deeper problem. The skyline remains intact, but the city's soul is slowly being hollowed out. Empty luxury towers may dazzle from a distance, but they do little to sustain the people and communities that make New York vibrant. 262 Fifth Avenue is more than just a controversial skyscraper. It is a warning that the future of the city depends not on how high it builds, but on who it builds for. Subscribe to USA Mega Projects and witness the engineering feats shaping America. From towering skyscrapers to massive bridges, we bring every mega project across the country to life, one build at a time.